Pay attention, son. This is for your own good.
Hi, my name is Justin, the transit TV teacher, and usually I'm here in front of my digital blackboard teaching a lesson, but today we're going to do something a little bit differently. About 2 or 3 months ago, we ran a segment on Mensa, which is the group for high IQ, really smart people, and one of our Metro riders wrote into me to tell me that she is a member of Mensa, so I'd like to introduce to you today Sadia Caron. Sadia, thank you for joining us.
Hi Justin, thank you. Hello riders, I'm a big fan of Transit TV and I'm very happy to be here today.
And we're happy to have you. So where in the LA area do you live?
I live in Sherman Oaks.
Okay, and how long have you been riding the Metro buses?
I've been riding the Metro buses ever since I first came to LA, which was about 5 years ago.
And hometown?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, family?
I have a mother, a father, obviously, 2 sisters and 3 stepbrothers.
And are they as smart as you? Are they Mensa material like you?
Well, I can't talk about the stepbrothers. I don't know them very well. But I do believe that intelligence is hereditary often. My father is super brilliant. My mother's also very, very smart. A couple of her brothers and sisters are in Mensa. I don't believe she's taken the test, but I'm fairly certain she would qualify.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I do several things for a living. I'm one of those hyphenates. One of those slash. So I manage a building part-time.
Okay.
And I'm also an actress, a singer, a writer, and a dancer.
I'm surprised you have time to be in Mensa. So tell us a little bit more about Mensa. What exactly is it? What do they do? What type of organization is this?
Well, it's a nonprofit organization, and the reason I wrote into you was that I was so impressed with the piece that you did. The goals of Mensa are very lofty and very beautiful. They want to identify and foster intelligence. They want to help fund research into the areas of high intelligence, and they want to provide social, experiences or social events for their members. But being a social organization, it's not a 40-hour-a-week job for me. My building manager job is part-time, which gives me plenty of time to audition and read books and see movies and write music and things like that. My participation in Mensa primarily is just your average member. I'm not on the board, I don't have to go to any special meetings, I attend some of the events, and I'm actually much more active in Mensa Brazil. I lived in Brazil for 2 years and have a lot of friends down there.
Are you a charter member down in Brazil or up here in Los Angeles?
It's a little confusing. Mensa started off in the UK. I believe it was either World War I or World War II, and they needed to identify the smart soldiers to see who could fly the airplanes for the war. So Mensa International is headquartered in the UK. Mensa US does have a program where you can become a life member. You pay them a whole bunch of money and you're a member forever. But Brazil does not have that yet. They're considered an emerging Mensa, which means they're a newer Mensa organization and they're still sort of growing.
Now, as for your own personal experiences with Mensa and being smart, have you always known from the time you were little that you were smart?
Well, Justin, I think most people think that they're normal. My mom was a school teacher, and she tells a story that when I was a little girl, around 2 years old, I would flip through the newspaper, back when we had paper newspapers, and I would recognize stores that we would go to. And I would point at the ad, and I'd jump up and down. And so my mom figured out that I could actually read, because there was the same logo that I would see when we went to the store.
2 years old?
2. But everyone thinks that they're normal. So I was reading by 2.5. Definitely I was reading. That seems normal to me. My sisters could read early. So again, everyone's point of reference is themselves. So I wouldn't say that I think I'm super smart. I think I'm normal because that's all I know.
I think I was in double digits by the time I learned to read, but be that as it may. Were you the kid in school who always blew the curve for everyone else? Because I didn't like that kid when I was in school.
Well, I like learning. Again, my mother was a teacher, so it was very much encouraged. I was one of the front row, always wanted to get 100, wanted to understand everything, was reading ahead in the books, was looking into other books, doing extra research. Yeah, I was that kid. Sorry.
What's the square root of pi?
Well, pi, as you know, is an irrational number. That means that it goes on and on and on without end. So the exact square root would be difficult to calculate, but it's around 1.7.
Okay. Tell me more about Mensa and actually what they do. Do they lend their intelligence to the world in any sort of meaningful way, or that meaningful way that would satisfy you?
Well, I'm definitely not qualified to be the sole judge of whether Mensa is fulfilling its destiny or not. One of the reasons I wrote to you was I wanted to sort of give you an insider's perspective on Mensa and tell you what some of the members within Mensa have criticized it for. Now, some people say if you could collect all the smartest people in the world together and get them in a room or in a Skype chat, we should be able to solve everything. But that's not really Mensa's goal. Again, the goal is to identify intelligence, which they do through their qualifying exam, to foster intelligence, which is a bit nebulous. They do provide scholarships. They do some academic research into high intelligence and sort of things of that nature. And they do provide social experiences for their members. We have meetings. Here in LA, there's a group that goes out to dinner once a month to a different themed restaurant. I think now they're doing a lunch. In New York, there's all kinds of different interest groups for opera lovers or Dungeons and Dragons or basically anything that you can think of. I tend to be one of the rebels. I'm like, shouldn't we be doing more to feed the hungry, teach the illiterate, make the world a better place? Within the organization of Mensa itself, though, I am a perhaps loud but definite minority.
Now, I believe there's a test in order to get into Mensa, or you submit your SAT scores, whatever it is. How did you do so well on the Mensa entrance test, whereas someone like me did average?
Well, Justin, part of it's luck of the draw. Okay, first things first. If you took the test again, you might do better. If I took the test on a different day, maybe I wouldn't have done so well. To get into Mensa, there are actually a whole slew of different tests that they accept, and the scores are different depending on the test. You can get in, I believe, off your GREs, your PSATs, your SATs, a variety of IQ tests. What I did when I wanted to find out if I qualified, I called up my high school. I went to a private high school. I was like, hey, do you still have my PSAT scores laying around? And they did. They sent me a copy. I sent the official copy to Mensa in Texas with $20, and they evaluated my test. And then I believe I got a phone call or an email saying, congratulations, you qualify. And then I joined.
Okay.
As to why you didn't qualify, I don't know. But I do believe that intelligence is just the ability to recognize patterns. Some very, very smart people have great memories. Some people can remember everything about everything. Some people can remember everything about a few things. But if all intelligence is the ability to recognize patterns, you could study, if you wanted to, and do better next time.
I think I might do that.
Awesome.
I think it would be a boost to my ego to get into something like Mensa. Very good. And are people ever intimidated by intelligence? I mean, we seem to worship and admire athletic talent in the world, but what about intellectual talent?
This is something that comes up in Mensa a lot, and the way I like to explain it is, what if, for example, you come from a family that's known for having a ton of money? What if instead of Sadia Caron, I were Sadia Rockefeller? You hear that name and you think, oh, rich girl. That's not really something that you want to lead off with, just because I don't want people to base their opinion of me on that. I'm much more than that. I write, I sing, I dance, I do stuff. But definitely, sometimes when people find out that I'm super smart, they get very intimidated, or they get very defensive, or they think I'm egotistical. And what has come up before is the comparisons. If I could run a mile in 2.5 minutes, I would be adored. I would win the Olympics, my country would love me, I would be set and be a hero. But when I can read when I'm 2, and when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what can I do to learn something today? I got interested in electricity, so I Googled electricity, and there's the volts and the amps and the this and the that. Why does that make people upset? I don't know. If people want to watch TV all day and not learn anything, that's a choice that they make. The choice that I make is I want to see every old movie that I've ever heard from, so I can grow as an actress. I want to read great literature from around the world, so I can grow as a writer. These are things that just make sense to me. Some people don't like that, and that's okay, but I don't want to ever make anyone uncomfortable.
And very quickly, any humorous, funny stories, anecdotes regarding Mensa?
My goodness, well, so much of humor is contextual, so it's a little bit hard to tell a funny story when you weren't there and you don't know any of the people. But when I try to explain what Mensa is, it's a random selection of people who do really well on standardized tests. That's another way to look at it. And when you get a bunch of people who have nothing in common other than the fact that they test well, it can be a little bit like a bag of cats with a dog inside. That's an expression that I've borrowed from Brazil. We can't even agree on our goals. You know, I'm the one, let's save the world, let's battle crime, and let's, you know, more funding for education, and let's teach people stuff. And other people are like, no, I just kind of want to have a party on the 4th of July. So, yeah, a funny story. I'll bring you to a Mensa meeting. How's that? And then you can tell me the funny story.
Well, if it's like dogs and a cat in a bag, I think I might pass on the Mensa meeting.
Some things have to be seen to be believed. There are wonderful people that are in Mensa. It's actually not the only high IQ society out there. Mensa is the top 2% of intelligence. There's actually another one called the 999. You have to be in the 99.9% of intelligence. So even getting into Mensa, like there's a whole nother level beyond that. And I'm sure there's one beyond that.
I think that would be really intimidating for me here. Interesting. Now, one other question. What year did Shakespeare die?
1616.
Okay. That is my Mensa follow-up interview. I'm the Transit TV teacher, Justin Vyor. My guest has been Sadia Caron.
If I was intimidating, please forgive me, Justin. It was not my intent.
We'll talk about that later.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.